Twig bitch. Welcome.
How you doing, bud?
Just great, man. Less than 3 weeks.
This is a good opportunity for the White Whale organization, along with the commissioner's office, to rehash some things and talk it over and build a little momentum before draft weekend, which is only 3 weeks away. And it's a great opportunity. I'm thankful and grateful that you were able to hop on and take the time. Congratulations on a good season, not a great season, a good season last year. And I thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedule.
I appreciate that. And I will just clarify, I will say it was great given the circumstances. So just given the picks I had and where I was throughout the season, to be able to sell out halfway through and still make the playoffs and knock off a team that bought into the Hawk spots, I'd say it was a great season, all things considered. But continue. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time, Commissioner. I'm glad to be here.
You say circumstances.
Sure.
How did you get in those circumstances? Was it someone else's fault? Was it your fault? Drafting. You got to those circumstances. You say all the circumstances I had, but curious for me, how did you get into that circumstance?
Yeah, every owner here, at the end of the day has tough decisions to make, and injuries happen. I came into the season, down a number of draft picks after going hard the year before. So was already dealt a bad hand, but all things considered, wow, just what a season, what an ending. I know we came up a little bit short, but to make the Final Four, knock off the Hawk spots, really scrappy White Whale team. And definitely will go down in history as an overachiever. Hunter Renfroe, Sami Parija, you name it. Josh Jacobs, got a 3rd round pick from him. So I think we're sitting really good and looking forward to the year ahead.
Gus Bus, have you ever seen the movie The Benchwarmers?
Yeah, I have. I've seen the movie. It's a good movie, solid movie.
So then you're very aware of the character on that movie named Gus Bus, correct?
Right. Yep. I think most people probably in this group are aware of that.
So were you bullied as a kid?
The bully thing affected my life pretty huge, and I just want to tell you kids that messing with other kids can really do a lot of damage.
What? That guy damaged more kids than anybody I knew. It made my life hell growing up.
Some of his traits, maybe, characteristics: cheater, bully. He wasn't able to get his wife pregnant. Sound familiar at all?
I would have to rewatch that movie now because I do not remember that. But I was wondering, where the fuck are you going with this question? But I guess what you got to do to take a shot at the White Whale, man. You're really stretching here.
Well, I would just question. I wasn't insinuating anything or any of those sorts. But I was just curious, and that was a little softball question. But let's tilt the focus. How do you feel like the Hawk spots season went a year ago?
Wake up, you dumb motherfuckers. Did nobody get the memo that the playoffs started last week? Apparently not. Only one team in triple digits. You boys better get your waiver claims in. Looks like everyone in the league is going to need one of those. You got 5 weeks left. Time's a ticking. Who's going to take down the Hawk spots? Doesn't look very promising, boys.
Yeah, that's tough. I'm going to not say much here because that's good, buddy. And, Hawk spots are a really astounding organization, but man, trying to think about more devastating losses in the 12-year history of this league. Not sure there's many. Maybe when he lost in the finals on Sunday afternoon to the Flying Cougars, falling short of his 2nd ring. But I'll stop there. Just tough for the guy. You hope he can rebound this year, but he did put up a lot of capital for some picks at the last minute. I've heard other people say it was a desperation trade, trying to buy in and win a ring, but I wouldn't categorize it as that. But that's just what I've heard. So I wish him all the best, and he's going to be shorthanded to start the year, but he's going to have to come out swinging. It's a bloodbath to catch up with the White Whale.
This will be your first time hosting ever. White Whale organization has never hosted before a Merrill Money draft. Why did you feel the need to place a bid, and why do you feel like this is the right time to host?
That's a good question, and I'll actually correct you. I have hosted the draft before. 3 years ago at my apartment in Wausau. I think Ross did some shots of like some pink vodka or something like that. It was actually one of the years I claimed the trophy. It was probably right after the 2018 season. So I have hosted the draft. So this will be my second bid, and I thought it was important to show a little bit of leadership and be the first owner to have a second bid to host the draft outside of your parents up in Merrill, but I would say it's a little bit different now that we're all in adulthood. So I'm looking forward to it. I know we got some Bernie Sanders supporters that are a little sour on having to make the trip that far, but you know what? Hey, I think they're going to be impressed. I don't want to give away too much, but I think everyone's really going to, have a blast, and it's going to be a great year up in Minocqua.
There's a big responsibility in hosting this league. This weekend is a big deal. It's not your average Joe or your typical fantasy football weekend. Do you fear at all your responsibility as hosting this will take away from your draft day abilities?
Yeah, it's a good question. To that, I would say, do you feel that being an owner dilutes your ability to be an unbiased commissioner?
Well, I thought this maybe was more I was the Q guy and you were the A guy. Respect you flipping around there, but
We're just having a conversation. I think that's a very fair question, and probably honestly a more prominent one given the events that unfolded at the end of last year. I'm sure you're still a little bit shaky about that.
No, I think you bring up a really good point. I think you do. Yeah, my job being the commissioner of this league, and all the time and all the effort put in, behind the scenes does take away from my ability sometime as an owner, because I think I might have a few more rings if I didn't have the responsibility I have as commissioner. I think you make up a really strong point. And
no. Questions flip-flop.
It's a sacrifice that I've made.
Does being an owner dilute your ability to be an unbiased commissioner?
All right, I'll stick to the Qs. You stick to the A's. Respectfully. Big off season for you. It was a real big off season. I noticed, you got something on that finger of yours. You got a ring. I'm not talking fantasy football ring. I know you got a few of those. Do you feel like you've gotten a little bit, soft as a fantasy football owner, or you will be soft as a fantasy football owner now that you are married? Mind you, that there's never been a owner in the league that's been married and won a championship.
That seems like a very cherry-picked stat. But it's a fair question. And you know what? I'm glad I brought this up because, this is just one of those headlines that the media picks up on. When you become a really big superstar, people are going to hate and just look for gossip and kind of make up these false narratives. So I'm glad you gave me an opportunity to set the stage clear here, because I want everyone to know that the White Whale is locked in, hyper-focused. And, really, if you didn't think I planned a marriage with, someone that's in the Caribbean, you're mistaken. Think about how much free time that gives me now with my wife in a foreign country, sitting here, listening to podcasts, doing my homework, just finished up my 200th mock draft. So I'm locked in and, ready for the upcoming draft. Yeah. Do you miss Matt Pitts? I don't know. Do you miss Larissa Yonke? Oh, come on. Come on. What about your baby mama that you hooked up with at the draft last year? I don't know. I do miss the bond that we had on that air mattress by Yelke's washer. Maybe I'm a little disappointed we're not going back to Eau Claire. I can try to rekindle that flame. It would be a real shame if someone had the recording of that. It'd be a real shame. Yeah, that would. So I answered my question. Now I turn back to you. How much do you miss the guy? How much do you miss Pitsies? How much do you miss Liz Kamenko? I don't know. I had less sexual interactions than you did with her, or Sadie. Could you? Yeah. Pitsies. You're gonna wait for me to answer this, really? There's another owner in the league that got a second ring. Skills That Kills. They got number 2. Hasn't been done before since you got your second ring. What's the panic meter like? Do you feel someone breathing down on your neck? Like there's a guy behind you. What's the panic meter at now that another owner in the league
has that second ring.
No panic. I mean, negative 100, whatever, it's below 0. But I love Sabe. Sabe's a longtime friend, good buddy, batting cage bro. I mean, it all started there. So I'm happy for him. Glad he got to 2. If anybody had to do it, I'm glad it was him. So looking forward to the future, but I think the cards are sitting good this season. And I mean, let's be honest, at the end of the day, Sabe's, more or less my puppet. So I essentially just have 5 rings.
What's more important to you, Merrill or money?
It's a good question. Both are definitely important and pillars of the league, obviously. To be honest with you, I don't think I can answer it for myself. I do think I could answer it for you, though, because I'm sure money is more important to you because of all that child support you're paying now after knocking up that chick at last year's draft.
It's been real great talking to you, but what's your stance? And I'm sure this will be divulged more in person when all the rest of the league is there, but what's your stance on the current commissioner of Merrill Money?
Trash. It's not good.
Divulge.
I mean, this is serious too. I mean, it's not a laughing matter. It's I am not going to say too much here because I want to save it for the drafts when we're all together and we can have a discussion. But the events that unfolded last year were just unacceptable and clearly identified some huge red flags and major missteps, along the way. So it's not good. Trash is probably the best word that I can use to describe it, but we'll see what happens. I've laid out previously some options for punishment. To be honest with you, I think the commissioner preemptively put himself on the calendar because he knows he colluded or acted very poorly last year. And he's hoping that can just be kind of like a little fail-safe punishment. Hey guys, I'm on the calendar. Forget about what happened last year. Haha, look at me draft up punny. No way, that is not slipping because I can see right through what's going on. And people need to be held accountable for their actions.
I could say a lot to respond back to that. But all I can say is I honestly and respectfully disagree. I think it's an act of valor. Didn't have to do this. Didn't have to put myself on the calendar. Could be a real dictator. And I don't want to go back and forth on this because, we're not going to get anywhere on this. But I respectfully and honestly disagree. Intentions were never out of sorts. The intentions were honest and integrity and for the league first and foremost. That's how it always is for the commission.
You're kind of reeling because I mean, when was your only ring? 2011? You were like fucking 10. You couldn't even drive. That's the only time you ever won a ring. I mean, I just feel like you're reeling a little bit. I mean, the organization is like the Cleveland Browns or whoever you want to compare it to. Cleveland's probably a pretty good one, borderline. But I mean, I'd ask you, how do you feel about the state of your own organization?
I will be ready on draft day for anything you throw my way. Anything.
You tell yourself that.
I can't wait, and you better be ready for the commission. I think this is the Cobras' year in 2022. And
I sure hope so, for your sake, for your mental health, for your physical